This episode of Behind the Mindset is brought to you by Bosch Home Comfort.
Obviously, we've been trying to link up for a long time. Too long, actually. But, you know, being out of state and my whole rule of, like, not doing podcasts, virtually.
Yeah, and I travel all over the country all the time.
Poses a problem. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you taking time to sit down. So I just find it interesting. I think that you have a really interesting story, and I think that more people should know about it. You know what I mean? So introduce yourself real quick.
So I'm Aiden Divelbiss on Instagram. I'm 20 years old. I'm a NATE certified HVAC tech. I have a degree in HVAC and refrigeration, and I currently travel the country working on water measurement equipment for all kinds of different industries and systems and stuff like that.
Very cool. 20 years old. NATE certified at 20 years old. I mean, that's pretty...
I got it when I was 19.
Okay, so NATE certified at 19 years old. Thank you. So NATE certified at 19 years old, I mean, that's really saying something. I think really what it boils down to is it's also showing your dedication to the craft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really kind of taking your craft to the next level, taking it serious, having a passion for it. We were joking in the hallway about how would it be cool if you had a house and like everything was like transparent, so you could see all the inner workings of the entire house because you're just so geeked out on the trades.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I've already been taking notes. I'm already
thinking about whenever I build a house, like how I'm going to make it real. Attic's going to be real wide open, so I can get to and play with. Like I like the guys like Tim DeStasio that have like their house is like just one giant lab where they have like dampers on all their ductwork and they're constantly playing with, well, if I turn the fan speed up and I turn this and this, how's that going to affect the rest of mine?
Yep.
And like different humidifiers, dehumidifiers, all that. I like getting to play with.
But I think that's how you
play
learn.
With stuff.
Right?
Yeah,
that's
it is, and it's hard because you can't, like, customers really don't like it when you're at their house. Like you're like, hey, this might not work.
Yeah.
Like it's nice to be able to play on your own stuff and develop your.
Being 20 years old, I mean, like, where did you start? Like, at what point were you like, hey, man, I really want to start, like, I want to tinker with stuff. I want to learn more about, has it always been a thing?
Yeah,
or?
so it really starts like my grandfather. So when I was born, my grandfather retired from General Motors because he was already like able to retire, but was just kind of didn't have any reason to. So when I was born, he retired, and he was very like did all of his own work around the house, built his own because he worked at GM, like working with his hands all day. So I learned from him like how to do basic home repair stuff, and that led to like I ruined a lot of toys as a kid, tearing them apart, trying to see how they work, and trying to take it apart and put it back together. I was really good at the taking apart. Putting back together, not so much, but I've gotten a lot better.
Had some screws left over when you were done.
Yeah, well, I did better than the manufacturer.
That's funny.
But yeah, so I like growing up, how it's made and how do they do it were like my favorite shows. Like not really into kids shows, and my mom wasn't around a ton. I was always with my dad, so whenever I would have to go with him to like business stuff, he raised me to be very like. Didn't talk to me like a baby, like the little goo goo gaga. So like I was treated like an adult from the beginning. That's led to being able to like behave. Like I know a lot of people my age who are like really coddled by their parents, and that's led to like they can't have like in-depth conversation. Intelligent conversation. That's like when I moved out to college, it was just such like a shock because it was like all these kids like all they want to do is drink and party constantly. I'm like, I have class in the morning. That's just not my, and like I still party on the weekends a little bit, but like I know people that go and get trashed on a Wednesday, and I'm like, I have work and school and side projects, and it's just not my. But back to kind of how I got into this. So between my grandpa showing me how to do stuff and my dad, making me into more of like the adult that I am today, that was really kind of how I got started. And then when I was old enough to get onto YouTube, I discovered this guy was relatively new at the time, Chris Stevens' HVACR videos, and I had no idea what superheat subcooling any of this was or what these yellow things with hoses were that he was hooking up. But I just thought it was interesting how he worked on such a variety and his in-depth troubleshooting and just seeing how he approached things, even though I didn't know what those things were.
Sure.
And I at first wanted to be an electrician. I really wanted to be a pilot at the beginning, but then I was like, I don't know that going to school for 4 years and then kind of doing the same thing in the same place every day, and then they kind of moved towards I wasn't going to go to any college and I was going to be an electrician, and then I kind of realized with like through Chris's videos and doing some more research, like the cool thing with HVAC is you do all of the trades. You don't just do plumbing, electrical. You are doing all of it, and that's something I like, and it's always different. And there's a whole bunch of different problems you can have. So the troubleshooting is always going to be something different, and I think it's a really neat industry to be in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The HVAC is an amazing trade. I think it's the best trade. But obviously, if you're in a different trade, you probably won't agree with me, but that's okay.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, coming up, again, being 20 years old and being where you are and just being fairly accomplished at 20 years old, like, fast forward in 30 years old, like, where are you going to be then, right?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's next. It's every time I kind of get to as far as I think I'm comfortable, I find a way to push myself to be uncomfortable, and that just keeps me growing. Like, I don't ever want to sit. I don't want to ever, like, plateau
For
in
sure.
a place where I'm, like, doing the same. I don't want to be comfortable.
When
I
you
want to
start-
always be doing new experiences.
When you start becoming comfortable, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you start dying, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's like part of that's like when I'm not doing my work stuff. I time indoor track meets. I do everything from like little middle school stuff all the way. I'm in charge of networking at the Ohio High School State Championship, and so like when I'm not, I'm always moving and doing something. I have so many different projects going on all over the place that I enjoy being busy all the time to
sure.
keep myself moving.
Temperature, I'm in control.
So when it's hot, we add some cold.
Too warm at night, it cools just right.
And super quiet, so you sit tight.
Cooling heats, cleans the air.
It feels just right everywhere. Cool and heat like a Bosch with many solutions for home comfort from Bosch.
So a while back we changed the name of the podcast to Behind the Mindset because I really want to focus more on the people and not so much on the trade, right? And I know you've overcome some pretty gnarly obstacles in your life at such a young age. Let's talk about that. I mean, if you're comfortable talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you've overcome, you're a survivor, right? Let's talk about that. I mean, how does one go from like being this young, healthy, like just vibrant, intelligent kid to like, oh crap, right? Life just smacks you with a 2x4.
So I was like, I'd seen like, you read the stuff about like men should check themselves for testicular cancer when you're in the shower. And one day I was like, something felt like weird. Like I noticed there was a bump, and I was like, I don't know that that's anything, but I've heard you should go to the doctor. So I called that morning. I called the doctor and I said, hey, I noticed something doesn't feel right, and they were like, just come in and get it checked. They said it could be nothing, it could be bad. Just get it checked. And so I go in, he does an exam, and he was like, it's probably nothing, but it might be something, but you're gonna go right now to go get an ultrasound. Like you're gonna go right from my office to the hospital to get an ultrasound. And that was kind of like
Something that ain't right.
But he was like, he just wanted to be careful and know sooner than later.
Sure.
And I got the report back and said it was concerning. So he calls me and he says he can't say, he's not a urologist. So I go I visit Dr. Dan, and he sat me down and was like, so he asked if I'd ever heard of Lance Armstrong. I said yeah, and he said he survived it and won a Tour de France after, and that's what I had. And I caught it fairly early, so it was still relatively small, and the tumor was small. And so he was like, you're gonna go get surgery in 2 weeks, and we're gonna get it taken care of, and then see what the next steps are from there. And the kind of crazy thing was, I was supposed to leave this was on Wednesday. I was supposed to be at TACO Thursday and Friday for training. So I had to call them and be like, because they had
Here's
told
the
me
deal.
originally when I was going to see Dr. Dan, they were like, don't eat before, you might have to get, if something changes, you might have to get surgery tomorrow. So I called them and I was like, so I'm either getting on a flight later to come to you guys, or I'm going to have relatively urgent surgery. I'm not sure yet. So that was a pretty crazy thing. And then I'm laying there in like the waiting area before I went to go get surgery, and the doctor's like, do you have any questions? And I was like, when can I go back to track meets? And he said, you're not going to be running anytime soon. I was like, no. I jogged track in 7th grade. I work track meets. And he said, whenever I felt comfortable. And I showed up. So I had my surgery on Wednesday. I showed up on Friday to Division I district track meet, and I was promptly asked what the hell I was doing there, seeing as I couldn't fully stand up yet, because if I stood up it would pull on stitches. And that was a very valid question at the time. I absolutely shouldn't have been there, but I kind of pushed through. And then I had a couple other little bumps and dealing with some pain and stuff, and then I went and worked our state championship, which come to find out that I kind of overexerted myself, and I called my doctor on Monday, and I was like, hey, I'm like 3 weeks after surgery, and I'm still bleeding. He was like, you need to go get more stitches. You did something stupid. And I was like, that's kind of how I have a habit of kind of pushing things too far.
For sure.
And it really wasn't all that bad. I mean, 4 stitches isn't terrible. It could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, I wasn't too stupid. But now I'm in remission. I've gotten several clear scans. I'm still got a couple more years of monitoring, but I went up to Cleveland Clinic and they cleared me, and so I'm now just being monitored for. But yeah, it was just such a crazy, like, you hear about it,
Right.
but it's like that would never happen. Everybody
me.
says it would never happen to me,
Yep.
and that's why I think for like guys in the trades, it's such a. Like, I've never been afraid to go to the doctor. I'm always like, if I have a question, they're the same reason that people call us to, when their air conditioner isn't working, is they're not going to go poke around themselves, or they're not just going to think,
call a pro.
it's making a noise, it's probably fine. You want to call the person, and I think that's a message that I really want to share, is like, even though it's not like the manly thing to go to the doctor, if I would have waited, it could have spread up through my lymph nodes in my back, could have spread to my lungs, could have spread to my brain, and then I would have had to have chemo and radiation, all kinds of other stuff. And that's why it's important to check yourself. But also, like, if you ever notice anything isn't quite feeling right, you need to go see a doctor.
I think a lot of guys in our industry, and myself, I classify myself in this category. When you feel like, oh, that doesn't feel right, you're just like, I can power through this, or, I'm not going to get checked. I don't go to the doctor or whatever, right? And I think a lot of that just boils down to, like, your ego, right, and your pride, and you think, well, this is the way I've just always done it, right?
Yeah.
But think about even in the trade, like, even doing your work, just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean that it's the right thing.
Way,
you know? So.
And I've also, another thing with that's kind of more on like the mental health side, is I've dealt with pretty bad anxiety, and I've gone through therapy, and I have it under control now. But that's another thing that a lot of people, like with the mental health stuff, need to, if you're not quite feeling right, go talk to somebody. Even if I think everybody should go. We all have things that we can work on, and I think that therapy is another one of those ones that people think is just you go lay on the couch and you just talk about your problems. But it was really life changing for me to go from like teetering on anxiety attacks sometimes to like almost fully control, and have methods to control that. Now it's been a really life changing for the better experience, and it's something that especially with mental health in the trades, is something that I feel like nobody wants to talk about. I mean, people kind of want to dance around it, but like we all should go. If you're having thoughts and stuff, go talk to somebody about it, because we can't handle it all on our own.
Right. Well, I mean, just talking about mindset, right? 20 years old, you're healthy, you're vibrant, you get nailed with this. Like, what goes through your mind is like, obviously, like, this doesn't happen to me. This happens to everybody else, right? But like, when life hits you, like, what's the thought?
I have kind of a weird attitude compared to most. I have a very like, it is what it is attitude, and I was like, I have fantastic.
I have testicular cancer.
Yeah, I was like, because my doctor was like, he told me, he looked at me, he said, I'm not worried. I will tell you if you need to be worried. And after that, I was like, well,
okay.
And I said, and really, like, from when I got my diagnosis, when I had the surgery, I was like, if I freak out and worry about it, it's not going to change the outcome at all. It is already.
I
said, especially when I have the diagnosis, I have the surgery plan. It's not like I'm waiting to find out when I'm going to have something done. It was just like, all it's going to do is make me, because that's like, I went up to Takeo, and they knew, and they were like, are you okay? Are you? I said it's in the hand. I said that the doctors that I have are very good. And actually, the doctor I go to, his dad really helped my grandmother. So he almost saved her life with some stuff she was dealing with. So it's now like the second. When I heard that, I was completely at ease that it's a good family of people, and they're really well-renowned doctors. And then gone to the Cleveland Clinic, they're world-class people, and they all made me feel explain everything in a very calm, that we're not like freaking out at all. And they just told me, they were like, we'll find out what they were like, then the next step is go get a CAT scan, and then we'll talk about it after that. And I was like, worrying will not make any of my problems better or worse. It will not change my outcome.
Well, it'll make it worse, right?
Yeah, it'll make it. Yeah, it will only
games.
make it worse. Yeah, it will only, because it'll make you do irrational stuff.
We call it when you can remain calm and just have good thoughts about, even in a crappy situation, we call that the all good effect, right? So the situation can escalate if you feed it that energy to escalate, right? But I think most of us paint this like worst case scenario,
Yeah.
and then we start to like live in that, and it's just
And
like,
then
man, how
you
about we
wind up in the
yeah.
worst case scenario.
How about we
because
look at the glass half full,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is going to be okay. This is just a
Yeah.
bump in the road, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and we're going to move through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's obviously easy to say that when you're not going through it, right?
Oh, I was saying that when it was going.
For
through.
you,
Yeah, I
maybe,
know.
right, but not-
For most people, no,
Yeah,
no,
for
it was. Yeah, and I would tell people when they're like freaking out, they're like, "Are you okay?" Or like I said, my doctors have said that I'm gonna be all right, and I said, and I trust them because I don't have any reason not to. But I said, if things happen, things happen. It's out of my control. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's like I mean, like so when I got it, I was like, "This sucks," but you, and that's another thing that I try to do is like you got to keep moving. Yeah, I've dealt with some. I had a friend who committed suicide, and that was very rough. I mean, when I found out about that, and I really wanted to just go home and crawl up in a ball and just not talk to anyone
sure.
for a month. Then my sister was like, "Hey, do you want to go out with us tonight?" And as much as I didn't, I knew I had to keep moving. If I would have went there, the bad thoughts creep in, and then
Yeah.
it being and I wasn't having a particularly great time, but I was at least out. And,
Yeah, and I
and
think
kept
it's-
moving, and I know it's a very extreme, but like you still have to. I mean, bad things are happening, but you cannot lay down and die. You got to keep.
Yeah,
You got to keep.
But I
fighting.
also think it's important for people to like. It is okay to grieve.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
it
what
is
I mean?
okay to grieve. It's good to you have to process it, but you have to. And I don't want to say not quickly move. I mean, I don't want to say quickly moved on with that, but I realized I kind of had to keep. You have to. You can't stagnate.
can't sit around and
can't
dwell on
stagnate.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't. You have to work through it, and that's another thing with therapy. Having somebody who you can go talk to. That's another good way to work through things with somebody who's trained in how to work through stuff. But that kind of life keeps. If you sit there, life will keep on going. And you gotta kind of roll with it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy stuff. Life, man.
Yeah,
we all have to live it, and that's
Yeah.
really our common denominator. Like,
Yeah.
dude, we're all involved in the trades.
Yeah.
We're all involved in HVAC.
We're all people. We're all alive.
We're all people. We all suffer from the same stuff. We all go through depression.
Yeah.
We all go through anxiety. We all go through family
Absolutely.
stuff and marriage problems and
Yeah.
this and that. So, but yeah, man, it's
Life
all
happens whether we like it or not.
100%. Yeah.
And there's as high as the highs are, there's also very low lows.
But it all boils down to the energy you put into things, and what you focus on, and the mentality that you step into these hurdles, right? Like
Try to stay positive.
100%. So awesome, dude, man. That's a great story, dude. You know what I mean? And I think you need to share that
Thanks.
more for
Yeah,
sure. I know it's a little.
I'm trying to work
personal.
on it. It's just hard to like, and like I was trying to do it last year, like as it was happening, and I kind of sat down and I was like, I want to like wait a little bit more
Yeah,
on it
let's
to
process this and get through it.
And I also one of my funniest things from it is I messaged Mark Talma from GE. And I sent him a picture. I said, "You guys really do it all, from my heat pumps to my light bulbs to my cancer care, because all my CAT scans have been done in a General Electric CAT scan."
That's
So I sent him that picture, and he's like, "Yeah, I was in one of those last week."
That's
It's
funny.
just kind of funny seeing. I was like, different part of GE, but still cool that I. Yeah.
Ecosystem.
They take care of
created.
us.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome, dude, man. Is there anything that you would want to leave? Anybody with?
Just pay attention and keep your head out of the sand. Always be looking around for opportunities. And the job I'm in now, I met some guy on Instagram and kind of stumbled into it as a college job, and now I'm traveling the country helping people keep water clean and keep the environment clean. And it's really cool. It's just cool how things work out. The things you can stumble into if you're just looking out for opportunities, looking out for things coming. That's how I'm here. I met companies and had opportunities to work with them. That's why I keep coming back. And thanks for the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, thanks for
really
being
cool.
here. I mean, this is obviously spur of the moment,
Absolutely.
right? We just decided
ran
let's
into each
let's
other,
sit down
yeah.
and do this real quick. But I think it's cool. I think you got a cool story. I think that it's important for people to understand, like, hey man, there's other people out there going through the same exact stuff you're going through.
Yeah, and if you're having thoughts or you have physical thing, if your knee's been hurting for 5 years, go talk to a doctor, because that's like my dad was dealing with a long time. His shoulder was really bothering him, and then he finally went to the doctor, and it's now not hurt. It's one of those things that if you go, even though it might be expensive and stuff, it can literally be life-changing
Totally.
to go talk to somebody.
Totally.
I mean, you know, I know people with all kinds of issues, they go finally get it checked out. It could be something incredibly simple. I mean, it could be something real, you know, you might
sure.
need more, but there's a lot of times the things are, you know,
But you
just
leave there and
don't
you're
feel
like,
like going
I could
to.
have taken care of this 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and I didn't.
absolutely.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
feels amazing. So it's just, again, it's
Yeah.
being stubborn, right?
Yeah,
It's pride.
it's just
ego,
our, yeah, and it's not
inconvenience.
Yes, and it's not. I would almost say it's more not like it's less macho to not go to the doctor, to not just get it taken care of. Like, you know, everybody's talking about like taking care of business, but they don't take care of themselves.
Well, here's the
And
deal, right? Like,
and that's like we said with life, like you got to keep yourself healthy to keep going. Like,
and there's and really, other than like maybe your faith, like really the only other thing that is the most important is your health, right? Because
Well,
without
and-
it,
yeah,
you have nothing.
and even with your faith, I mean, if you're not healthy and you're alive, you're yeah, but.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so,
you gotta.
Yeah. So my
we're
takeaway is, man, whether you're 60 or whether you're 20 or 19, right? It doesn't
Or
matter.
60 or 16, yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, you got to take care of yourself,
you
man.
gotta
If you
take
see
care of
something,
yourself
if you
and-
feel something ain't right, you see something that ain't right.
If you're thinking something ain't
Yeah.
right, you gotta.
So-
and even if you're not sure at what is right, just go talk to somebody.
Yeah,
It's-
mentally,
it's gonna be-
physically, spiritually.
in any way.
Be healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I appreciate you being here, dude.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.